And we're finally back. Finally back on Hermitcraft. Oh my goodness me. I've been away for so long I feel homesick. You know? Gonna pinch a few of these. Today we're just gonna grind out for a project that we're gonna do. A collaborative project. First of all, let me put away my magic spyglass. Gotta put that in there. Bananas in chat from Hero Blender. Pixel Riffs in the chat. And on the server. The Cheese Eater. Soundwave Hope. Armored Monkey. Sir Jemin. Winnie T4. Curls of Doom. Thank you for bananas. Lets me know that we're live. On the twitch.tv/xisuma where the streams happen. The reason that I've got so many shulker boxes is because I need to dig out a big space. A big space down here. So today we will grind and chat. There were some things, well, there's always things on my mind, but I just felt especially, hang on a second! Hold it right there! Who's this?
Hello.
Hi!
I've been putting the work in.
You have! That is awesome!
Yeah. After our little chat earlier, which obviously folks on your stream haven't seen yet, but will be in my video, I went and got some efficiency 5 on my pickaxes.
Nice!
So, I have a ton of shulkers as well. I bought them from Impulse's shop. I've given Impulse so much money already. I've been on the Hermitcraft server like a day, and he's just had all the shops that I needed. So I figured if it was alright with you, I would pinch some of the supplies for this for what we're building elsewhere. But obviously it's going towards things like droppers, observers, repeaters, all of the stuff that we'll need to build the circuits anyway.
Right, yeah.
So I'm grabbing all of that. I'm stashing it in my ender chest in these shulker boxes for now, but we'll put aside some of that for the redstone components, and then I can pilfer the rest of it for building stuff. How does that sound?
Got ya. That sounds great. Like, and take whatever you want from here, because, like, I've already got stupid amounts of cobblestone stone. But do you want me to grab, like, a box of redstone? Would that be helpful for crafting all the components?
It would be, yeah. I've already got so much emerald ore from this, by the way, which is one of my favorite blocks. So,
sweet.
if you're okay with me silk touching that, then I might
go
take
for
a couple of those as souvenirs.
If you want more for a build or something, I think I've got like stacks of it hidden around by now.
Oh, that'd be so cool. But yeah, it's not even for a build necessarily. I just really like the block. It's one of those ones where it was rare for so long that even now, after they've changed ore distribution and you can find it way more commonly in mountains, I just feel happy seeing it. You know?
Yes, I have the same thing actually. I keep like picking it up and collecting it. I'm happy to throw everything else away, but the emerald ore, it just feels like, no, I want to keep that one. That one's special.
Yeah, and you get emeralds so easily from villagers that like the ore feels like it's not worth fortuning. But like,
you want to silk it.
On Empire's Deep Slate Emerald has been like my holy grail of blocks for the longest time, and a couple of people found them during the collab, which was really
nice.
Fun. But obviously you have to go much further down for that, and even though this room is massive, we're not going that far down. So
that's true. It's like 11 blocks or something, isn't it?
I think 11, 12 will probably put us at the right sort of range, yeah. And then, you know, we'll see. Hopefully the circuitry will fit inside of here, and then we can figure out how you're going to walk around and like distribute everything. But
one thing we can't do is go higher than this, otherwise it bumps into redstone somewhere. So that's why I put it here. So I'll probably start digging down when I get to digging, because I think I'm going to go grab like some redstone for you.
The other thing I was going to ask is, where do you typically go to mend your tools? Because I've been to the Enderman farm, so I know where that is. But if there's like a better place to go to fix my silk touch pick, because that's already on its last legs.
Okay, I'm gonna go get some XP bottles and like make a
that'd be a good idea.
station.
Yeah, no, that'd be perfect. I've seen Corralis's car wash. So I was thinking about visiting that because it was still in the overworld, but I don't know if I've got any diamonds to put in the coin slot at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing is just having them in your backpack, really, more than anything, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Repair on the go. So I'll definitely go get a bunch of those too. It's a good idea.
I've been getting used to shulker box tooltips, by the way. Having the left shift to look at the contents of a shulker box, so handy.
Yes.
That feels like one of those things that if I had it, I'd never look back. I'd want it on every world
like
that I played on.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's
that's so funny.
Hard one to part with the mods.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I bet.
Well, thank you for, you know, chipping in with the digging. That's
Yeah,
awesome,
yeah.
and we'll probably bump
I've
heads
cleared
in.
all of I've cleared all of this out in about half an hour, so I can probably put another maybe 45 minutes in before I have to go. So yeah, happy to
Wow, awesome.
keep clearing out.
Thank you, Pix. I'll be back soon with some supplies.
All right, no worries, dude.
So we have a mission, my friends. It sounds like. Was there anything important I needed to do here? Don't think so. Right, where are we? Noises in the ear. Clover TR, thank you for 3 months of support. We've got Saku Plays Games here, gifting a sub to Dado Kid straight away with the gifted subs, as well as gifting one to Snowy Lee. Well, thank you so much for doing that, and if you heard your name being read out loud, be sure to say thanks in the chat to Saku Plays Games. We also got Geordie7859 here for 26 months. Loving your content at the moment, especially the new, more in-depth stuff. By that, do you mean the video essays that I've been doing? Because I have one... Yeah, no, I got one in the works. I don't know when it will be released. Probably not for a week. But one more before the year is out. But if that's what you're referring to, the video essay stuff, that's what I've been wanting to do for some time now. I've really been wanting to make content that kind of like goes into that realm. So yeah, not a lot of redstone there. Just thinking a little bit, because I seem to recall getting a bunch of redstone and giving it away to someone. Oh, that's what we're after. We're after that. There you go, problem solved. Let's go get some XP bottles. The video essays are fire, says Citrus Citation. Thank you. Can't imagine how Pix is feeling right now. Imagine reviewing a show for over 5 years and then being in said show. Yeah, he's loving it, I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah, a couple more of you are saying you like the video essays. I'm glad to hear it. It ties together like a bit of a passion of mine, which is writing. I really enjoy writing and thinking about stuff and then putting it into words. And it gave me an opportunity to do that. What's the plan today, says Bone Juice? Grinding and chatting. We're going to be grinding away and talking about stuff. Oh, and that is a sip of some very hot decaf. I haven't had any coffee, like caffeine even, for a while. I ran out, and as I suspected, it didn't feel like a big deal. But today, before my workout, I really felt like I could have a cup of coffee, and it was like I could feel it being absent from my routine. It was like the next thing I wanted to do was just chill out in the kitchen with a cup of coffee, like doing a little bit of cleaning and kind of getting like ready for the workout. But I didn't have that. I skipped all of that. Alright, well, these were 1 per stack, right? I gave Impulse? I gave Pixel a bunch of my diamonds earlier today so he could go buy stuff, as he alluded to. Let's chop this down. Now, I happen to know a little secret about this shop right here, if I'm not mistaken. Aha! We're going to buy all of this restock here as well, I think. Yes, we will buy all the things. Just my inventory's a little bit lame right now. It's full up with stuff. I do need to keep track of how many we're taking here, which I can do just with how many I've taken, right? So if I put that there, we can see it's 9 will be 18 diamonds. Another 9 will be 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. So we owe 4 more diamonds. There we go. Enjoy those. And yeah, and then... Oh yeah, here we go. And then the... Wait, did I put it back in? I'm getting all kinds of kerfuffled now. Aha! How confusing! It's the same colour! Oh, golden. Right. In-game, that is, just to be clear, says Sir Gemin. Oh, you died in-game. Ah, right. I was confused. You see, I thought you died in real life because I saw the message, oh no, I died, and I thought, no, Sir Gemin's died in real life, and then typed a message onto the chat using the keyboard. Ah. Oh no, Sir Gemin. R.I.P. Thank you for letting us know, though. Noble thing to do, your last moments alive, of course. Very... alive? Sorry, dead. No, wait, this is confusing. Were you alive or dead when you sent that? Oh, forget it. Forget it. You're just trying to confuse me again, aren't you? Let's go over here. Yikes, these are popular. These are popular. I don't think I have a... I have a mild restock available. Oh wait, these are royal emeralds. Are they still a thing? I need to restock, so maybe later on if we want to take a break from digging, we could go do a little restock over there. We got these, we said we'd go get that, and we said we'd get redstone. We got both of them. Matchy3107, thank you for 32 months. Hi X was the Empire's collab. Secretly a way to test how people will react to the Empire's members being on Hermitcraft and merge them joining Hermitcraft. If my theory is wrong, either way this would be smart. No, it was not. There is no plans to do something like a merge. That's not what we want to do. We are just having an awesome time with an adjacent community that do similar sorts of stuff to us, you know? Divine Guide, thank you for 14 months of support. Hey X, glad to finally catch a stream again. Glad to have you. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of crossover in terms of friendships between these two communities, and it was nice to just do something different and pull us together, and you know, and have some fun playing on each other's servers. Pixel would fit so well into the Hermit, says Carls of Doom. Yeah, I'm sure he would. There's lots of people that would. What I think would be interesting in terms of recruitment for Hermitcraft is to pick someone who, you know, you wouldn't say doesn't fit, that sounds sort of negative, but someone to ruffle our feathers, you know, to change the game a little bit, to introduce something new to the mix. A lot of people comment on the diversity of Hermitcraft and the different things you can find in it being a sort of strength, so we could add to that. Hello! Can you hear me from all the way over here? I'm talking as if my voice is echoing, but it's not. Hello?
Hello, welcome back.
Hey. Hi, I come bearing gifts.
Oh, exciting.
Yes. Let's see. Where are the gifts? Here they are. Right. Redstone? Not a problem.
Oh, full blocks as well. I was expecting dust. Oh my goodness, it really is a different world here.
Yes. And then
and
these
so
things, yeah, I'm going to leave them like, there's like a bit of an entrance. There's like 2 entrances over there. I'll just leave it on the wall as like a spot we can go. Because that's where I go to drop off the resources, right? So I'll just put it next to that.
Yeah. All right, perfect. That's great.
Wonderful. Awesome. Cool. I'm going to be digging in the area too, my dude.
All right, fantastic. Yeah, I think I missed out on, there's like a section back there that goes further along. So I don't know if you want to kind of work on that bit, and I'll keep doing this bit, and we can avoid just crossing paths too much. Otherwise, we'll just be digging the same rocks after a while.
Got ya. Yeah. Well, it'll probably be easier than. It'll be easy enough. Cool. All right, dude. Wasn't Tango's Copperfield also called David? I don't know, but maybe we can come up with a different name for this one. Here's something that we do need to do. We need to put down some shulker boxes for materials over here. I mean, the inventory is just... so much space is being taken right now. And then we'll have one for like a more sorted type of items. That way we don't take up a crazy amount of space. We'll throw this thing down and grab something out of here. 2 things out of here actually, those 2. Right, and before we get too stuck in, the one thing I really want to do, I want the whole area to just have a clean roof, right? So I need to come over here, And just clean up the roof first of all, before we start going down any further. So that's just a hole. Oh, I did all of that earlier. See, it'll mostly be like spots like here. Behind where Pix has been. I'll come in, clean that up. Cool. Aha, big old patch of coal. We're going to get so much coal from this thing. What is this hole for, says Lucaro. It's for a copper aging facility. Oh. Looks like I pulled out the wrong pick. That really did surprise me, actually. And that's the correct one. And then the iron ore, and then we can do that. Yes, the Empire's portal still links, says Tanian. As far as I know, it's a two-way portal now. Whoops. You left the emerald. I think the emerald got popped up and went up to the surface. I think it went through the blocks, which is a thing that can happen. So down there to the left, there's like one of... Wait, where am I going? Oh god, I'm so disoriented. And there's emerald. See, that one I definitely picked up. Definitely picked up. So yeah, I'm basically going to go like back and forth. Wow, it feels really disoriented to like sort of jump from the free cam to where I am. Yeah, basically going to go back and forth and just find all of these. Clean it up. Because I've done this on the walls too, actually. So like, it's going to be a very nice clean room to look at from a distance. Because when the roof is like, you know, an actual roof, you'll see all this stuff. Lynn _ is here for 2 months. Thank you so much, Lynn. Can't wait for more content. Awesome. Awesome. It might be a while before, like, the Hermitcraft episodes roll out again. Oh, God, that's so good. That's so good. Right, time to read chat and drink coffee. Hermitcraft and Empires are not hosted on the same server. Pro tip, don't host multiple servers on the same hardware. X, how do you have so much XP and it being perfectly 1337? Just the thing that I did, you know, just sort of player I am, really. It's just a representation of my style. Oh, I'm showing off. I'm late. I'm late. I'm so in with the lingo. Pinot says Pixel needs emerald though. Maybe leave them. I said to him earlier I'd pass him on a bunch. JSUS says, while I like the Empire's episodes, also happy to see more progression in HC. Yeah, it couldn't go on that way forever, right? Are you building David? Yes, we're building a David. Hey, David. I've been missing Zedaf, apart from that crossover. It has been fun. Yeah, I don't think he made episodes during the crossover, right? Do you still have the Bone Mage helmet? I do, yes. Is it possible to do more minigame streams while Empire's people on HC? It might happen. It might happen. I don't know. X, what was your biggest takeaway from being on the Empire server / world? That bumping into people more often and just being around other players is a lot of fun. Like on Hermitcraft, we all tend to like focus on doing our own thing, and on there they focus on each other, and it's a valuable thing to like think about and learn. X, favourite way or type of way to drink coffee, sugar, cream, etc. I just have a little bit of milk with it, and that's it. Nostalgia says, what are your thoughts on GPT, the AI chatbot, and AI being able to generate art, code, text, 3D models in general. I love it. It's like a new frontier of technology that's like, it's not often peeps, like, that you get to see change right in front of you. Okay, the world is always changing. The revolutions, you know, when you look back at history, it all looks like it happened in a moment, but things always, like, they happen without you realizing it, day by day. And this stuff's going to revolutionize. It's going to change a lot of industries. You know, creative writing, the generation of art and assets, 3D models as an example. You can use this stuff to do programming languages. These tools are going to make a lot of advancements in productivity and possibility. And it's one of these things where I've listened to it for so long, listened about it for long enough, that I'm really positive that this is it. This is a big thing that's going to happen, right? But it won't be an overnight change. Everything's not going to be different tomorrow because of this technology. It will take time, but, you know, I don't know how many years it will be till it's really visible. But you're going to see it. You're going to see it down the line. It's going to be like, oh, look at how things are different now. Like, let's say we focus on art for a second. You know, the techniques for creating art, the availability of resources, the abundance of wealth into society to actually have more artists has obviously accrued over time. But, like, if you just step into the world of art, you can take so much of it for granted without a historical perspective on what these things are. Especially with, like, something like digital art. There's a lot of tools and things involved into it that are just sort of there and taken for granted, and they used to be more tedious and difficult to do. That's what it's going to be like for a future generation of artists with AI art tools. It's going to be like the barrier of trying to visualize and create in your head and then put it on the canvas in front of you is going to dissipate as you can use prompts to start to get the visuals you're looking for in front of you. The Bone Mage will not be returning. AI is like cameras and CGI. They modify, not destroy art. Yes. Yes. However, when these things come about, there's always naysayers. You know, I'm sure that you can always find it. You can always go back in time and find it, and you'll probably be able to find a quote of someone saying that CGI is going to ruin movies. It's going to, like, replace jobs. They won't need stuntmen anymore. It's like, well, look at where it's at now, right? Like, there's more movies than ever, and the visual effects are just more and more stunning. So what's going to happen with art? It's just going to expand the possibilities and potentially change the landscape too, change the rules of the game, so to speak. Perhaps art will kind of amorphosize in its current shape, like, I don't know, like the way you have, I don't know, like an art scene and art galleries and art traders and collectors. Like, a lot of that stuff can be subject to change because of how this will change the access to it. Like, maybe people don't want to pay for art on that level anymore because things will become maybe less collectible as the creation becomes more accessible. But I really don't know. What I do know is that these tools are already helping with computer game designers being able to basically create more assets easier for computer games, as you can use the AI tools to create the graphics for your game. It's really exciting times. I'm so disoriented. We need to just keep replacing these blocks. Lime Pixel TV says, really don't like creativity being distilled into prompts, but it's obviously what the near future is heading towards. You always got to take that historical perspective and realize that, like, every advance in technology that makes something easier has that mindset, right? What you don't see is how having prompts advances what's possible. Let's say as an artist you're able to create a a body of work in your lifetime, right? So you can go explore like all these different places and themes and ideas, but then along comes this prompt stuff. It might change the nature of your art, as in you can now do so much more. You can make more immersive places. Like, have you ever seen, like, everyone's got like a favorite painter or style, and there's something like immersive about it, and it makes you think, oh, like this fantasy world that they've painted or whatever. It's so amazing, and you look through their paintings, and then you know, like, then there's a finite amount of them. What could happen is there could be so much more for you to enjoy. It might be that, you know, instead of the artist's body of work consisting of 10 of these incredible paintings where you're like, oh, these other worlds that they create with their art, they're so fantastical and amazing. And it might be like, well, now, you know, now you not got 10, you got 50, because the productivity has gone up, right? This is the potential of these tools. This is what they're going to be able to do. And it's really, really exciting. Terminal says it's good for making reference images, but an artist will need for the final product. You might think so. I believe that artists, you know, are still going to be absolutely necessary. It's just the tools of their trade are going to change a little bit. But what a lot of people, I think, might not realize is that this AI stuff is iterative. Okay, so if you generate some AI art, you can put what it generated back into the system and have it reiterate it. I watched this tutorial of a game designer create graphics using prompts, and the trick was that when they started putting in these prompts of like, hey, I want a chest that's got like vines all over it, it didn't really look that good. It looked, you know, it looked decent considering an AI made it. But then the trick was that they put it back in with a new prompt. It was like, you know, make the chest a bit sharper, a bit shinier, make it more like this, like that. And just by refining it over and over again, the end result really looked like something an artist had created. Again, we're talking about the power of the tools here and how it's going to change everything, right? Like, artists as we know them now, their roles can change. What they do right now, creating something from start to finish, could be very different before long. It could be a case of you bring in an artist to direct the overall theme. Like, they, you know, it might transform and merge into a sort of different role. You become like a director of theme because all of your people on your team can now create these assets that your skill set once could exclusively create, but now more people have access to. It is what has happened in society with so many things over and over again. It's just more wealth, more abundance, more access, and it, you know, it revolutionizes and changes things, and the art industry is going to go through a big transformation. And you know, when we come out the other side, like, let's say we look long into the future and these things are just really commonplace, like, people might not care. There's a lot of stuff that's been replaced. There's a lot of things that have changed that once you just grow up and it's not a part of what's normal to you, you don't care. You don't care for it. This thing that's gone. You know, it's just not a part of your world. Soundwave Hope says a lot of people's art and art styles are being stolen and used in AI art without permission. AI art at the moment is very much hated by the majority of artists that I know. Yeah, I imagine it will be. People react to like change like that. They feel threatened and whatnot. The one thing that you've touched on there, though, that's really important is that we're going to need new rules, new legislations, new understandings. We need discussions around you know, what the ethics of using this stuff are, because you got a point that that, you know, people's art can be plagiarized with this AI stuff. That, you know, you can use existing material to prompt the AI to create something that's exclusively like it, and then we have this ethical question of, is that plagiarism? Is it copying? What does it mean? If I were to take a guess, governments are usually kind of slow at responding to technology, and technology keeps getting faster and faster. I can't help but feel it will probably be quite a, I don't know, it will feel sudden when it's over sort of thing, like, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have, let's say, like a lot of disgruntled artists who haven't liked the transition. It wouldn't be surprising, but then a new generation of people that would come along and wouldn't hold on to those pains and those difficulties that the previous one went through, which is just a similar thing you can see by studying history. If you learn about technology and industry in the past and how things have changed, you see it over and over again. It will probably go through a similar thing. Red Brumbler says, one of my worries is how easy it is to generate malicious code to be compiled into something like a token grabber or other malicious programs. You can get a program to token log in like a few minutes without even knowing any programming. That, honestly, Red Brumbler, you know, maybe I need to look into it more, but just off the top of my head, that doesn't concern me quite as much. It's like, I think people are generally good, and if you want to do nefarious things, you'll find a way to do nefarious things. I don't know. To me, the flip side of what you said is like, what we need is people to be more conscious and aware of cybersecurity and how to be safe online. I think the access to malicious code has kind of like always been there if you want to go looking for it. I'm not sure like AI tools are going to be deployed in a way that just lets you be malicious with them, right? Like, you're still going to have to go into the dodgy spaces in order to find that stuff. And the problem with those spaces is that they're often trapped themselves. So if you go looking for malicious code to use as a user, like, you're probably going to go into dodgy spaces where you yourself might be taken advantage of, right? Like a lot of kids who investigate, you know, how to do key logging and all these sorts of things, like the software and the code that they first get their hands on is usually loaded with that stuff, right? Like, they're also a target by going into that area. I find it hard to see how AI would shift that much, because, like, again, the tools would be in the dodgy areas of the internet. They're not going to be just up front, nice and, you know, aligned with all these other big AI tools. Any coder can write something malicious. Getting people to fall for it is usually the roadblock, says Lights Lab. Yeah, a very, very poignant way to look at it. So, like, does the AI stuff increase that level of access to trick people? That might be the better place to start. Like, if the AIs become intelligent at tricking people, which there are currently reports in cybersecurity of AI bots being used all over the place to try and trick people and whatnot. I guess if they start to operate in a sort of their own individual way, it could be quite dangerous. Hey, we've got an impasse. An impasse? Oh, jeez. The merging of words in my head. An impulse raid. I was too keen to say raid. Impulse, thank you so much for the raid, my dude. Are you happy to be back on Hermitcraft? I've loved the time at Empires, but I definitely got a little homesick. Glad to be back, and here just doing a little bit of a grind and having a chat. Today we're talking about artificial intelligence. Initially we were going to talk about the prompt, the GPT prompt thing, right? And then we're taking questions from the audience and just going off in like all sorts of different directions. So yeah, we're kind of taking it from there. Who's Impace, says Haunted Knight. Impace is a product of my imagination. As I tried to say impulse and raid, I somehow merged the words. Alex Economy says, also, like, plays still exist alongside movies and board games with video game versions. Absolutely, yeah, there'll always be a place for traditional art. For sure, for sure. Doav Kev says, I feel like AI will become more of a new tool rather than replace artists. Yeah, that's how I feel. However, it will disrupt artists, right? Like, I think the problem with saying, like, replace is it's kind of like individualistic, and I tend to look at things, you know, like humans as like a superorganism, right? So when you step back and you think about art as like a collective output, you're just going to see a shift in how it's created and distributed. But then if you zoom in individually, you know, there may be people that are air quotes replaced and like lose their job, but in the process there's going to be a whole bunch of new people learning how to adapt to like the changing industry and the new tools that are there, and then that will become the norm. That is sort of the general trend and pattern of disrupting technologies. Hero Blender says, I don't think AI will completely take over art in the near future, but it will definitely make it easier for more people to put their ideas into pictures and help artists creating their art. Yeah, and also like what new fantastical places might emerge if more people have access to this, right? Like we've all seen incredible creative worlds. Like one that I've been exposed to recently is H.P. Lovecraft, and seeing some of the art that his writing inspires, you know, like there was a time where you couldn't conceive of that. So like what things will we conceive of in the future thanks to art being more accessible? We could have all kinds of new fantastical realms and ideas for our imaginations to venture into. So, you know, it could be really exciting, the changes that are going to come. Anna Bomb Bananas here for 31 months. Thank you so much, Anna. Really appreciate it. How are you, X? I'm good. Thanks for asking. We also had I Am the Tuner here with the Amazon Prime. Thank you for using the old Prime subscription on me. Appreciate it. Medina Stars says, the end result is typically the result of using an actual artist's style without their permission, though. Yeah, okay, so the tools that have initially been developed are built by some of these big companies like Google. They're built out of on artists and art styles that existed before copyright. I don't really know much about... I know that you can feed in other types of art into the system and train it on it. But I know that the big tools, the main ones that Google and stuff are deployed, I believe they're all like legally sound when it comes to that stuff. Maybe ethically to use dead artists' work from hundreds of years ago. I don't know if there's a problem with that. But yeah, it's a space that really needs to be addressed and navigated. And as I said earlier, it's likely that, you know, governments are going to be slow to adapt to changing technology. That's just a typical thing. So it could be messy. Alex Economy says the trend is every job automates to allow more, not less work being done in total. Absolutely, yeah. When I say less work, I'm probably referring to like to get to the end result, you now as an individual have to do less work. But if you do the same amount of work, your productivity goes up. And so all of this technology will ultimately probably increase the overall productivity of our global society, which is obviously exciting stuff. It's just every now and then these things are like way bigger and more novel and potentially going to have a lot more impact than you might suspect. I think this is going to be one of them, the AI stuff. Now, the original question was more about the GPT, which is the text thing that I think they opened it up because I've seen a lot of people now sharing stories that these things have generated. And my favorite one that I've seen so far has got to be on the Vlogbrothers channel. Just go watch that video, and then you'll know when you've watched it. You'll be like, this is what X was talking about. You'll suss it out pretty quick. It's amazing. Like, it's my favorite take I've seen on it so far. Purely for like the first few minutes of the video, and you'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. You'll be like, that's what he's talking about. Because I don't want to give anything away. It's just my favorite take on it all so far. You should definitely go check that video out. What's the name of the video again? It's the Vlogbrothers. Just go to their channel. I think it's the latest one they upload. Juice Sour Grape says, having algorithms steal your hard-trained skills and time is annoying to artists, X. It's a very, like, I get the like a harsh response to it like that, but you know, what about all the hard work that's gone into developing, like all the science and thought and engineering that's gone into figuring out how we can teach computers to do such incredible advanced things. I mean, I get like someone ends up on the short end of the stick as these things advance and whatnot, but I don't think it's right to take it bitterly. Like, let's say, you know, these things start creating Hermitcraft videos better than I can. I'm probably going to feel bitter about it, but I'm also going to know this is just the changing way of things, right? And that I had my little moment and I've enjoyed it, and now things are changing. Because what I'm doing already won't last forever, right? Like, it's not going to be Hermitcraft until I die or something, so it's going to come to an end at some point, but like, if some technology comes along, it's, you know, I understand how this stuff works. I think just being bitter about it doesn't sort of advance what's happening. Like, focusing on the issues, like, I think there are some really valid ones around copyright, but what's ethical, what's wrong and right, and having those discussions is important, as opposed to just trying to like shut it down or get rid of it. Because there's no shutting this down. Like, the cat's out of the bag, right? So now we've got to navigate it together. You know, be informed, understand these things and concepts, and yeah, we're going to need like legislation and stuff. But as I've said several times, it's just going to be a case of governments are just going to be slow to react to this, I'm pretty sure. Oi, take that back. You absolutely have to do Hermitcraft until you die. Do I? I don't want to do this forever, peeps. I'm loving it, I'm enjoying it, but all good things come to an end, right? Courts are generally quick, says Alex Oconee. Well, that is quite a bold statement, you know, because courts deal with a lot of things, and I guess quick and slow are relative and subjective sometimes. So I would disagree. I think they're going to be slow to react. I mean, point in case being, there should probably already be governments talking about this, and I haven't, you know, well, you don't know what you don't know, but I've seen very little in the way of signs that, you know, governments are starting to tackle this. Like, you know, like Facebook has been tackled recently. You know, Mark Zuckerberg's been brought in front of Congress and stuff, and like, this should happen years ago. This needed to have happened in like 2009 or something, and it's taken them like they're 10 years behind on the whole social media and data thing, right? And I imagine it's going to be a similar story with this stuff. Shin Wervira says, I am a graphic designer myself. I do use Midjourney, for instance, as a tool, not as for a finished product. That's where the difference lies for me. Does that tool allow you to put your prompts back in and then refine them again? As I mentioned earlier, that is a process that you can do with these AI art tools, and they can bring what you're making to a much more complete looking state, which is like I thought this stuff was cool, and then I watched a video of someone doing the multiple iterations, and then I was like, wow. You know, like, it starts off looking kind of good, you know, this AI stuff's impressive, but you feed it back in, and then it ends up with like a, wow, it's like a human did this. As a game developer, I'm personally very excited to start using the AI tools to help with concept art and temporary assets to aid development. Awesome, yeah, it's gonna, you know, it's gonna increase productivity and improve games and whatnot. AI art is not that different from electronic synthesized music. Depends what you mean there. Like, if you mean from AI creating music, I've heard things here and there. I haven't really followed that one closely, but it's probably coming that it's going to start to figure out and emulate music. I've heard some really interesting experiments where you hear like, yeah, clearly this is like, you know, not human. A human didn't make this music, but it's like not yet satisfying in a way where you're like, and now I want to listen to it. I've heard some AI stuff like that, but like synthesized music, I think you might be making a mistake if I understand the statement correctly. Like, a synthesized instrument can still be played like an instrument is played. You know, you input the motion of the notes that you're playing, and the computer or the synthesizer then turns it into sound. In the same way that strings vibrate, the computer oscillates sounds in the form of synthesized instruments. So it's not really a case of like, what was the question again? Like, it's not really a matter of AI. It's that you're using a computer to create the equivalent of vibrations on strings, right? It's not really an AI thing, synthesized music. Impulse says yes in response to your question if he's excited to be back on Hermitcraft. Awesome. I mean, that was a while ago. I imagine Impulse has got a whole bunch of things to do and is cracking on with his day. Because we're quite behind here. Peckham Bread says, machines can make loads of stuff now, but the rise of handmade, homemade products meant that people weren't entirely replaced by machines in the manufacturing world. I think it will be similar in the art world. Yeah, I kind of see it like that as well. It'll simply change the landscape, and you know, our generations will know how it was once different, and future generations will probably not, and it will just become commonplace and normal to them. VP Charlotte says, I'm a game art student. A lot of my classmates also don't like AI art, since although our tools are changing, it makes art so accessible it's lost its special touch and devalues the artist's work. It's demotivating to see someone make a game asset in minutes, which take a game artist hours, days or weeks to create. Alright, excellent. So like you've said the answer in the statement. So it makes art so accessible it loses its special touch. Now, where you are right now compared to history, you are in a way more accessible place to access art than people were hundreds of years ago. Okay? In the same way, if you're a graphic designer using Photoshop today, you have way more access to creating fonts and shapes than people did in the past. The tools keep creating more access. You become a product of that increased access, and then when it increases further, you can fall into this way of seeing it as, you know, taking something away from you. You wouldn't look at your current situation and say, God, it's so unfair that I'm an artist, you know, like hundreds of years ago there were way less people doing art, and it's because of you know, the increased productivity of our planet, the ability to extract, you know, resources and lift people out of poverty, and you know, create more wealth to have more leisurely jobs, air quotes, and have more artists, right? That's the same thing. It's the same thing again, is what I'm saying. The access. The reason you are an artist is probably because over time it's become more and more capable for society to support not only like core and essential jobs, keeping the lights on, fresh water running, but also have more leisurely jobs, people creating entertainment, games, media, and art. There was less of it being made. All you got to do is just study something and go back in time, and it's less and less. Like, look at how many movies are released every year. Go back 10, 20, 30, 40 years, it just decreases. It's the same for much of this stuff. Scalvern says, as a 2D animator, it will be very useful to create in between frames. Yeah, there's some tech with this stuff where the AI is being used to increase frame rates to produce in between frames on video and stuff, which is really cool. Weiss Led says, AI generated art isn't much different from cutting out pieces of magazines and gluing them together on a canvas to make new art. I don't think AI art can fundamentally be regulated without overreaching. Yeah, I'm not sure about the overreach and regulation part, but the cutting pieces out of a magazine, I feel like you're sort of like diminishing the marvel of engineering that has been put together to make this stuff happen, right? But you know, the point I often make about this stuff when people say, oh, it's just copying or whatever, is like it's emulating what humans do to do this. Our minds are like remix machines. You know, if you're an artist, let's say you draw like a giant monster or something really imaginative, and you know, I can propose the question of like, well, where did that come from, that monster that you've drawn, right? Like, what if you were raised and you had never read books about, I don't know, Lord of the Rings, goblins and demons? Again, a historical perspective allows you to see how previous art movements and styles influence the next ones that come along, and certain cultural creations then allow these ideas to propagate. So like, what is a truly unique idea is a little elusive, because like you can't, like, in the inception of like the first person, let's say, air quotes, or to go back, you know, just imagine going back. Like, you can draw, here's a simple way to like describe it. you can draw a picture of someone sitting at a computer and they got an iPad and a phone and like all these things that exist in the world today, but you go back hundreds of years and artists can't conceive of people sitting in front of, you know, square light illuminating objects, right? Like, it's just, you're always informed by your environment and things that are taking place in the world around you, and so that's sort of like the source of inspiration and stuff. It's like you're a remixing machine. You are taking things out there in the world and just sort of reassembling them with your own little touch in your head, and that's kind of what these systems do. You know, they're made with neural nets and whatnot. The same argument could be made for cast iron, nails and screws that were produced during the Industrial Revolution. I would argue that cheaper and more reliably available tools is better for all humanity. Great point. Warp, you're totally on my level with that one. Totally on my level. And there's loads of examples of like that where it's put people out of work as well, right? Like, because you can, you know, not to come across as cold to people losing their jobs. That's not the point, but like all the benefits of like where we are right now and the things we have in our life have come at the march of progress that is technology that has dislodged people's jobs in the past through these certain technologies creating upheaval, and so far all it's ever done globally is just continue to create more and more jobs. You know, maybe some jobs disappear entirely, like in the way things are going. Maybe in 50 years or something there might not be any coal miners anymore, but there'll be loads of people learning how to install solar panels, right? Like that kind of thing is what I'm getting at. Yellow Howard says, I mean, I assume carpenters felt the same when machine manufacturing started to become a thing, which is totally understandable, but in general it's probably better, and there are still carpenters creating bespoke furniture for those who prefer that. There you go, yeah. There you go, there used to be probably way more carpenters. Yuri Huffle says, this reminds me of the talk about Unity in the Unreal Engine years ago, when some coders were complaining about how easy it was to make bad games nowadays. Yeah, there you go. Like, that's a great example again. Like, that engine increased the access and availability to game creation, and then like, they're using bad games as an example, but like, how many talented people came through, you know, the Unity platform having easier access to game creation? It's just the continual like lowering the barrier of entry just increases the possibility for great things to come out of whatever it is we're talking about, you know, games or art. Lucro says, essentially it will cost jobs short term, but long term it will create and enable so many others. That's it. Yep, that's it. That's sort of the point I've been getting at. Failed Vegan says, I came here for Hermitcraft and I've changed my opinion about AI art instead. Cool. Cool. I'm glad you got an open mind for like listening, and you know, never be afraid to have your opinion and stuff changed. It's always good to listen and hear other ideas and ways of seeing things, right? Which is something, you know, I am open to, but I'd be hard-pressed to find an opinion that rattles me here, because, like, this is something I've been following for quite some time, and it's a perspective on the world that, you know, I've had to develop over a long time of, like, challenging my own notions and stuff, because I was kind of raised on the idea that anyone losing a job was terrible, and that you should protect all jobs, and I feel like I've since learned that what you need to do is, like, it's not about protecting the job, it's protecting the person, right? Like, we should have more safety nets to help people transition in this time. Like, yeah, if AI art replaces jobs, like, you want a society that's more robust for people, like, moving from one profession to another, and, you know, that meaning that their life isn't jeopardized or something in any way, right? Their livelihood even isn't jeopardized. So like, that part's valid, but without the broader understanding of how these jobs being replaced benefit society in the long run, it's a little harder to see that. Because you're focused like on the here and the now and the individual. And the individual obviously has its relevance, as I said. Ice Fungus. As a classical music student, the AI tools are very useful at developing the core harmony of a melody, but we still get to edit that and refine it to fit our musical style. Absolutely, yeah. Again, I'm not really brushed up on the art tools yet. I know they can like recreate singing or more so rapping like really effectively with AI tools. You know, write out the lyrics and use the tools to sort of draw from the artist's many records. You know, capture their voice, and I know things like that can be done. But what I will say is that there's a lot of people that create music without music theory, right? I mean, as I say it out loud, I realise it's a bit of a moot point because you can probably then just make AI that isn't necessarily reliant on music theory, but yeah. But with AI art, the first time that creativity is replaced by automation, not a craft. Is it the first time? Let's think about that. I'm not sure that it is. I can think of an example of something that I did years ago, okay? And this is great because like I might not have something off the top of my head as a rebuttal most of the time, but when you do it, it's definitely helpful to make a point. I'm sure if you went back and studied some stuff and gave it some proper thought, you'd be able to find instances of automation being involved in the creative process. So I made something on my YouTube channel. It was like a world download called the Ideas Machine, right? And all it really was is the equivalent of, I think I did it with command blocks, but like imagine you've got some dispensers in a Minecraft world, right? And you feed in a bunch of words on paper into each one, and you basically define like a mob or a creature or a type of farm or something, and then a challenge for it, and then an environment, and then a build theme. So you might get like cow farm, don't use water, make it big, medieval, right? And now, you know, because you inputted a bunch of information, a very primitive system compared to our neural net driven AIs, because of this bunch of inputs that you've put in, you created a unique output that didn't really require the person using it to think about it. So people could download the Idea Machine and put it into their world, and then when you didn't know what to do, you would just press it and it would give you a bunch of pieces of paper that would allow you to fit a bunch of things together. And that is an instance of automation outsourcing creativity, right? Sounds like Grian's Season 9 Grumbot content creator. There you go. The content creator is the same concept. It is that you can basically give random chance, or however you want to look at it, of these items get randomly picked out of these droppers, and you can assign values to them that overlap with other things, and then it becomes the remixer of that. Now, it might sound like crude and simple, but it's kind of like, on one level, I think it's what all creativity is, which is just the ability to mix things together, essentially, from different sources. Ben Core says, I do think people who actually study art will be able to use an AI much better than most. Great point. Understanding composition, etc. will be just as important. There you go. That's a really good contribution right there. Yeah, you know, like anyone can type into a prompt, but who can really understand what they're looking at on a deeper level? That's a good one. Airship Girl says education will need to keep pace. Imagine having a 4-year degree on something that will be obsolete in 10. Yeah, that happens from time to time. People, you know, their education gets outpaced, essentially. I've heard stories of that, horror stories mostly, you know. Someone's put all this time and effort of their life into a particular craft, and then all of a sudden it's redundant. I feel like I actually came back over here to like get stoned to fill in that spot that we were just at. Silv says, what bothers me about things like automation and AI is that even though our productivity has increased astronomically, we still mostly work 40 hours a week. I thought these things were supposed to give us all more free time. That's a great point. And let's wrap up the topic there for today. We've answered a lot of questions. We've been waffling on about it for a long time. This is a really great thought to end on, though. I often wonder about that. You know, we are like, what is the mechanics behind that? Because it's sort of like an economic question. Like, how is it that we can keep producing more wealth, but yet we still work 40 hours a week? And I think an answer might be that the population increases as time goes on. There's also a disparity of wealth distribution that might contribute to this. But I definitely feel like, I don't want to say like if economics or economies were more managed. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm not proposing they should be. But if they were, imagine you could run the world in a simulation and you could tweak how global communities run their economies, right? Like, you actually sort of design them to some extent. Like, can you rearrange all the moving pieces to get them to work together? And therefore actually fairly distribute wealth, and people's, contribution of labor could potentially sort of come down to where people work 20 hours a week. Like, can it be done? I don't know. It's probably one of the most difficult and complicated things to like actually try and tackle. Like, if you were to look at it through the lens of economic reality as opposed to ideology, it would be just such an incredible thing to figure out, because like the moving parts of the world is just astronomically complex, right? I've never really had negative or positive thoughts on things, especially any types of AI. Negative or positive on a lot of things, says Cinnamon Sticks. Well, that might be because I've noticed that in life there are some people who, and I would put myself in this category first, but becoming aware of it, I become more like the second category. People who are like quick and keen to have opinions, and that probably means they're like more emotionally driven opinions. I would put myself in that category primarily. However, I think over time I've learned to identify that. And then there are people that are more, just for whatever reason, sort of attuned to like their own ignorance. Like, you're just aware that you don't know about stuff. Because I got like friends, and I can think of a friend who's very opinionated about things that they clearly don't know about. Like a discussion I had a while back, a friend was getting some very basic common facts wrong, yet had really strong opinions on this thing. And I'm not here like casting judgment or anything. It's just like, they're my friend, and they're a human being, and they got feelings, and they're a decent person. It's just, you notice these things if you tackle these topics a lot. And then you have other people who are like, if you start to talk about stuff that's maybe political or moral, that kind of don't want to have strong opinions on it, and it seems to be because they're just aware that they're ignorant to this stuff, right? So if you identify yourself as not having like strong opinions on a lot of stuff, it might be that you're just a bit more in tune with the fact that you don't know about stuff, right? That's how I've been looking at it, because you can definitely have like strong opinions about things that you don't know about. That's a definite phenomena, because there is this, I think it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, which is where your confidence in what you know about something is very high when you know little, and then when you start to learn about this topic, it's like it dips. It's like a inverted bell. It goes all the way down, and then it comes back up again if you're an expert. And this is probably because things can seem quite simple and straightforward until you start to learn more about what it is, and usually most things tend to be rather complex when you start to learn more about them. So as you go like a little bit into that learning about something, and then you're like, oh wow, there's so much more to this than I thought, that's when you start to realize, wow, I don't really know much about this. And then as you start to learn more, you start to see how big the topic is, and you get to that bottom bit where you're like, God, there's so much to know about this topic and this thing. And then as you learn more and more, you start to actually understand more of that surface area, and then you start to become more confident about it because you've explored more of the terrain and you understand the scope of the whole thing, and then you might become an expert at the end of that, right? Let's do this right there. Gamer Toss DK, thank you for 21 months of support. We also had Chimpo here for 8 months. I'm excited to see all the shenanigans on the Hermitcraft server again. Thanks for all the great videos and content. JP Amster J Kells is here for 22 months. Probably absolutely butchered that name, and I'm so sorry for being so far behind on these. I've had an absolute waffle again. Degu64, thank you for 9 months. Twitch baby right there. Do I get to throw another remote on the screen? Is that what I get to do? That Twitch baby. Thank you so much for your support, by the way. It's appreciated. It's also important to be self-aware and ask yourself, do I actually have enough information to form an educated opinion? And it's totally okay to say no and don't have an opinion on something, or don't know something, says Doom. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Like with some friends, you know, you engage a bit of conversation about something you're interested, and just kind of notice, like, you know, they're kind of like, they kind of know they don't know, sort of thing, which is perfectly all right. I don't think I'm going to use this staircase again. Like, there's a bunch of staircases to get into this area. I don't think this one's going to be one of them. Right, and Pixel is showing me up here. Doing so much. I'm just going around tidying up the edges, just so we don't lose track of that, and then I'll get to the middle of this room. I was a little bit unsure if we could, like, dig out this massive space, but now that we've gone from one side of the...
Hear me?
Oh god! Oh god! Buttons! You made me jump so hard, dude.
Sorry, wasn't sure if you were deafened or not. I am pretty much done on shulker boxes. Like, I've got nothing left in terms of shulker box space.
Got ya.
So
Follow me, my friend.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep hold of some of this so I can drop it off with our community build that we're doing, and then the rest of it I can just drop off into whatever system you've got.
Yeah, as I said, just like take what you want from me, because I've already got this just massive stockpile from the ribcage. So
oh sure, yeah.
I'm probably going to move all this stuff over to... Do you know about the depot, right? We've got this depot for just stuff you want to give away, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always that. This wall of shulker boxes here is good. Like, I haven't started using it yet, and a lot of them actually have, like, a bunch of stone or cobble in them. So watch out for that. But, yeah, just take what you want from this spot, really.
Great. Okay, yeah, I will probably drop off a bunch of this now, and then I've got to go, but I'll be back at this tomorrow. I'll be doing it on my stream as well, so awesome. I'll hopefully have a lot more of that area dug out. And in terms of the scale of it, I know we were talking about maybe having to scale it back a little bit. I think we're going to do 12 modules instead of 13, just because with 13, you're reaching the outer boundary of the radius in which random ticks happen. Yeah. And it is a circular radius, not a square, which is what I was working with previously. I looked this up on the Minecraft wiki just to be sure.
Oh,
and
man.
So I think
good thing you did.
In a circular radius, we're going to get a lot more, but there's just like a couple of chunks on the outside of like that 13, like... modules that just wouldn't update unless you were walking around constantly or in like a minecart or something. So yeah, what I reckon we're going to do is 12 on each side, and I mean that's still going to be 24 of those. Multiply that by 18 because that's how many each of them stores. There's going to be a lot. Yeah.
And then the player will sit in the middle to get it all loaded.
Yeah, exactly. And if you need to expand it in future, all you've got to do is copy it down vertically, and the full chunk is going to tick. So there's a lot you can do. But
you just made me think, Pix. We should have maybe gone for a vertical design, right?
Yeah, I mean we could have done, but I think I'm going to refine this idea in future. And one of the things I want to do long term, maybe in my survival guide world, maybe in a different world, is do one of these that's like a skyscraper that we can go like either from the ground as high as possible, or maybe like a little bit into a basement level, and it's just going to be stacks of these things vertically.
That'll be an interesting challenge, because like, how do you move up and down? Like you might have to build like a water stream system for moving the player too.
The difficulty then becomes, how do you place all of the blocks in the right place? Do you end up using feed tapes and just quadruple the amount of redstone components that you need to put into that? Or do you, figure out some kind of player transport thing and have them place everything by themselves, but each floor kind of gets manually shuttled around? Did you ever play Portal?
You know, I did back in the day, and I noticed on my computer the other day that I got Portal Mail, which I think is like a custom fan expansion or something.
Oh, really?
Cool. I should play that soon.
Yeah, I remember that just the facility in Portal is the one that sticks in my mind. I think you see it at the beginning of Portal 2, where there's just all of these, like, test subjects held in those kind of cabins, and whenever they want to introduce somebody else into it, they've just got row upon row upon row of all of these test subjects in this kind of, like, hangar, and that's what I'm imagining this copper aging facility looking like, is just, like, stacks and stacks and stacks of these things all done vertically. But that'd be the project of a lifetime. Like, it takes so many redstone components and so much crafting that I'd have to do it over the span of like a year or something.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot.
It definitely would. By the way, Cybot, who's quite knowledgeable in my chat, says random tick ranges vertical cylinder aligned to chunk boundaries. One thing about that is, like, when you deal with all these numbers and stuff, the player is always ever in just one chunk. So if you've got 12 and you're in one chunk, does that mean, like, the way it's aligned, like, if you divide 12 by 2, it's 6, and 13 can be 6 and 6, and then you're the one in the middle, if that makes sense? Like, do you know how it aligns those numbers?
I think I might need to get, like, something that can project a sphere, like the spawning sphere thing or something, just to see where the outer boundaries of it are, and if we need to cull back any of that.
Yeah.
But obviously it has to conform to chunks, so it has to be in 16 by 16 squares, and that's more difficult. But I will look into that further, just to make sure that we don't have too much redundancy built into this already. And then, I'll see how we need to tailor it there. But now I've got it in Litematica, and I can just kind of copy paste the circuits over. It should be quite easy to draft, so I can come up with whatever design is optimal. But I think the space we've got down there is still going to be valuable at that scale, so
Sweet.
I think we'll be fine digging it all out that way.
Cool. I'm gonna crack on digging it out then and get it all ready.
All right, perfect. I'm gonna head back to the Nether hub so I can drop this stuff off, and I'll see you around maybe tomorrow if you're here, or if not,
I'll be around.
You'll come back to a very heavily dug out room otherwise.
Awesome. Thank you, Pix. See you around.
All right, see you soon, X.
Some of you in my chat were like, "You're asking the guy who does the recap if he knows about the depot?" Do you know what I'm thinking? I think you do the recap every week. Are you supposed to remember every detail about Hermitcraft? Oh, God. You were so smart with your sarky little comment. But I got the one up on you. Hey, Pix, remember that thing that I did in that other season that one time that you might or might not remember? Do you remember everything about Hermitcraft? Jeez, I bet loads of you got big brains full of Hermitcraft memories. You're like, yes, X, I do happen to remember everything about Hermitcraft. Leave me alone. Oh, God, I can't win, can I? I just can't win. Right, now we came back here. That's my little ways back to other storage areas and stuff. Let's throw these down. I think I'm just going to sort them another day and just keep doing this. I'm just going to be like, yeah, everything in there. I'll have the totem back on. I'm going to take a little break. Pixelriff says the other funny thing is Zloy and I split the hermits into two groups and we watch half. Zloy watches X's videos much more often than me. I knew that you already split up the load. I think you had told me that at some point when we had talked before. But yeah, there you go. A little bit of an insight into the recap right there. My friends, are going to nip to the loo. So be sure to hit the follow button, but don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere because I'll be back. And we can talk about things. Stuff and things. I don't know. I'm in a talky mood if you want to talk about something. Maybe throw some ideas for conversation into chat. And maybe some of my mods will pick some of those out. So yeah, I'm going to go to the loo. I will not be long. I will be back in a moment. Bye-bye. I am back. I am back. Hey, 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 hey. Okay, don't do that joke again. I am back. I'm always amazed with the people that can go, that one thing that was in episode 512 in season 4, timestamp 1213. It's crazy how some people just memorize that sort of stuff so easily. Everyone's probably got one. Everyone's probably got like a vivid detail where they know exactly where it is. You know? Like episode 299 of Hermitcraft. If you've never seen it, you have to go watch it. You just have to. It's the best moment ever in Hermitcraft history. Right, getting back into it. What was I going to do? I was going to do a thing. First of all, I've adjusted the desk. So the desk emote must be played. Who is Loy again, says Emo. Don't search the name. You won't find anything on the internet that will answer your question. Okay? I really liked episode 404, says Red Brumbler. Of course you'd remember that episode, Red Brumbler. Oh, I remember that one. That's another beautiful little detail about the Hermitcraft series, right? Episode 404, how could you forget? Also, peeps, hydration reminder. I figured now would be a good time to drink some water. Good stuff. Right, let's get back to the grind. Oh, actually, I don't think we... Did we go all the way around? I think we maybe have gone all the way around. So we've got a clean roof. Clean walls. Now we've got to just dig out this middle area. Let's get some cobble together. I may have memories of Impulse's iron farm design, so I know how to build it off my head. But that's because I had studied it for ages to make out, only to find he had released a guide video. Ah, yeah, there you go. Sometimes you don't think to search. Ooh, it's like one block on its own. Sometimes you don't think to search. Sharma Isle says, raise your hand if you haven't drunk water today just before now. I mean, you could have said something like, type in chat, because now there's a bunch of people around the world raising their hand that you can't see. Oh, God. That's not very clever, is it? Yeah. I'm in a hole! All of a sudden, I'm in a hole. Watch out for that one on the way back, I guess. Red Brumbler says my hand is raised. Thank goodness I reminded people that they can type in a chat and let you know. God, otherwise there'd just be a bunch of wallies sitting around with their hands up at computers and you would have been none the wiser. God, I'm such a brain smartest, aren't I? Such a brain smarty over here. Let's see. How do you feel about having the Empire's people on Hermitcraft? Have you been planning the crossover for long? The crossover was planned quite some time ago, but maybe it was a little bit more. I don't know. Like, we could have put a bit more time into organising it. It kind of. I guess when it finally got here, it all happened kind of quick. Is probably the best way to describe it. I got no problem with the Empire's peeps being here at all. It's exciting. It's fun. It's different. Like, it's cool. I'm late to the stream. Can someone please remind me what X is working on? It's been a while. Thanks in advance. We're working on a big room for a new big project. Hey X, how do you do the lore and storytelling you had to do at Empires? I know you struggled with it in season 8 because of burnout. It was very different because I wasn't telling a story for a character. It was just logging on and being a part of the fun. So it was a really good experience. Really enjoyed it. Lore is definitely not my thing. I've also like, just become so acutely aware of lore being this like really meta thing that people like to acknowledge now. Saw a bit of it before. We saw a fair bit of it before Empires, and then I think Empires really illuminated it because it's like a core thing that they're doing. But like, where did that start? Where did this sort of like meta acknowledgement of lore kind of begin? It's become like this really prominent thing now. Like, let's say I'm just watching some video and something in it has a bit of lore, and then you'll look at the comments and someone will be like, lore in capital letters. When did it become a thing? Dream SMP? It's not just the Minecraft thing, I've noticed. Game theory? I could definitely understand game theory having a hand in it. Yeah, that feels very game theory-ish. May I ask, has the Empire's crossover increased viewership at all? I know, but I personally watch more people as of recently to catch all the lore that happens, and curious about how universal that is. I think it has been. I think it's been generally positive for both communities. That'd be my guesstimate, you know. Like I have looked a little bit here and there at numbers and stuff, but I haven't exactly studied it or anything. Oh gosh, I've left behind so much. That's a huge shout out, actually. Things like Critical Role and Dimension 20 have really pushed the idea. That's a response to another message, so I don't have the full context there, do I? I guess lore started when the first fiction started. No, I'm on about lore as an online meta thing, like people saying lore all the time and acknowledging its existence. Like it's a weird thing. Like I don't ever recall the word really being used much in language in that kind of way before. Like so openly and metally acknowledged. Like people understand that stories have lore and sometimes it's the word of the conversation, but I mean it's like a meme adjacent thing, right? Like you see lore, you shout it out now. That's the trend, and it's just I don't know, just different, and just been sort of so exposed to it as of late. The lore of lore, I guess, says Jimpo. The lore of lore. I personally really enjoyed the lore that happened in Season 8, but I think the way it went on Empires fits your style better. Things just happen naturally, and just going along with it works better. Absolutely, yeah. Evo has to be one of the earliest examples, right? I don't know. I don't know where this trend started. You know, to me, it's relatively recent. It might have been going on for a while. But Empire's obviously really embraced the whole lore thing. I noticed there's a lot more meta in culture these days. Like, meta's become a very common thing, like in comedy and just in general. It's like a concept you're more likely to encounter. Which, a show that really embraces meta is Rick and Morty. And their latest episode that was available over here on E4, I really loved it. It was like a really great... It kind of had like a bit of classic Rick and Morty vibe to it, in the way that it sort of addressed our interactions with social media. It certainly gave you like a lot of food for thought on that front, but it was just a really great like commentary on the dynamics of like heroes and villains and character arcs within the sort of judgment that social media like has this live reactionary commentary to when people do this thing or that thing, right? Really get great commentary and all of that. But it really made me want to go back and watch some old Rick and Morty, which I've been doing. Been watching a few of the early episodes, and you just, when you switch like that, you notice how much of the show, like you notice all the bits that are changed, like pace is one thing. The show used to be a fair bit kind of like slower and let you linger on its jokes, but it also like sneaks them by you as well. There's a lot of like small details you might not notice in that show that are quite amusing. But yeah, really been enjoying watching the first few episodes of Rick and Morty. Which episode was this, says Red Rumbler? It was the latest one that's available on E4, because the UK lags behind America with this one. I really enjoyed it. Old Simpsons have more variants in terms of jokes. Yeah, maybe it had more variants. I mean, The Simpsons has got like its own vibe, and Rick and Morty's got a different vibe, right? The Simpsons is just loaded with funny stuff. So much classic humour there to be found. Oh, it's a lot of stuff to be dug out here. With the old shovel. It's a right old gravel patch. Alright, Archimedium says storytelling is being added to mediums that conventionally don't have it. Typically Minecraft streaming is its own entertainment, but adding stories is an extra layer to get people invested. Yeah, there has really been a fair bit of that, hasn't there? I remember raiding this streamer like quite a while back. This might have been one of the earlier exposures to all this lore stuff, and they were just constantly like telling the audience and myself watching like about how they're building lore for their world and getting into the story and all this stuff, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. Someone's like building their world with story like really present in it. It's something I think I might want to try and do myself in a future season of Hermitcraft. I've been thinking about whenever season 10 rolls around, like I think I would like to take more time to figure out what I want to do in advance, like have more of an overall goal and plan, but not something like, oh, I'm going to build a giant rib cage that doesn't work. Like, I mean something really like quite well thought out that takes me on some interesting paths. An example might be something like what Zedaf does. You know, he sets himself these advancements, and then it just opens the door to lots of creativity and things that you can do. So I might look for like a sort of play angle that I could do myself, and maybe building in a story is something I could work with a little bit. For me, I think it would have to be like the story of the area. So if I'm going to build a bunch of farms, have a base, like I'll have these little cues, these little links where it ties to some bigger story, and hopefully that'll help make what I'm doing feel more cohesive. T-Bone Robo says, is there something on the technical side of the Empire server that you would like to implement here on Hermitcraft? I think the invisible armor is probably going to come to Hermitcraft. It's just so nice to interact with people and not have their faces and skins obscured. So I reckon that's probably going to make its way over here. But that would probably be the one. I'd also be down for like all the custom skins, not skins, what am I saying? Custom items and stuff, but there's, you know, not everyone agrees on that, so we know, like, that one gets brought up a lot, but never quite gets over the finishing line in terms of bringing it here. The one and only Silver, thank you for gifting a sub to MJ Fellows. Appreciate you doing that. MJ, be sure to say thanks in the chat for that gifted sub. Appreciate it. Resource pack for villagers would be fun. Yeah, like all the custom villagers and all that cool stuff. It's just a lot of fun. I think a meta commentary on lore is the natural evolution of media when there's a saturation of content to deconstruct, says Tizkill Kai. Yeah, I don't know if it's like saturation that's caused it to get here, or maybe it's just like another barrier that gets pulled down over time. Like I can remember humor and comedy and stuff that me and my friends would like growing up that had very meta moments in it. But it always felt like it was done in a way where like the meta was a nod to those that understood we're talking about the meta. Whereas now it's very on the nose. Now it's like very meta like. And yeah, I don't know if you could conclude it's a reaction to saturation. That's, to me, that sounds like a opinion if you don't have data to like back it up. Or some good reasoning. Not saying that there isn't, just that's kind of how it sounds. That was Acrylic. He is writing stories and novels, and he is building the world for it in Minecraft 7 years already, says Curls. Ah, okay. Acrylic, yeah, that rings a bell, because I followed them, so when I look at my raid screen, sometimes I see that they're streaming, and I remember, oh yeah, that's the dude with the stories. So is it like the writing of like a novel or something that's a passion, and then they link it to Minecraft, or is it more like they're writing to do the project for Minecraft? Kira goes MC, do you have any plans for what you'll do if Hermitcraft ever dies out? Yeah, probably just focus on my music, really. That's basically it. What kind of dwarf am I with no hammer? Well, I'm not a dwarf. And my height has been restored. Judas says, are you a fan of MF Doom? Always wondered if he was part of the inspiration to wear the mask. No, my skin is Doom Guy, so that's that whole story. Not really. Like, definitely, listen to that classic album. You know the one. Forget the name of it. Mad Villainy or something. And checked out a lot of his stuff. Like the crossover he did Scarface with some of the guys from Wu-Tang. Like, just an artist that, despite clearly being of their own craft and having some brilliance, just never like got roped into. And this song came on recently on Spotify, and I was like, oh, this is cool. What is this? I forget the name, but there were only 2 ever albums made, and it's like a white and red cover, and the other one's a white and blue, like just the 2 colours, and it's like a drawing of some sort. I think it's King Geordie or something like that is the name. And then it occurred to me, I think this is MF Doom. I think it's one of his many side projects. So yeah, I might be listening to a bit of MF Doom right now, as it goes. Well, at least you know who he is. Oh, absolutely, yeah, of course I know who MF Doom is. He does it back and forth. When he's inspired to write, he writes, and when he wants to build, he builds, says Jealous. I think you might have not understood what I was asking, or maybe I didn't express it properly. I'm saying, like, are they a writer who writes novels, who's then come to Minecraft and been like, oh, I'll link these 2 things together? Or are they a Minecrafter creating a Minecraft world with novels? Like, which way around is it sort of attached? What came first, the chicken or the egg, is sort of what I'm saying. Because it strikes me as an interesting thing to do, but it makes me think that you'd primarily either be like a novelist or a Minecrafter. Like, which one comes first in that equation? X, you must have meant the Sleepwalking Rick and Morty episode, E4. I think you are going to like E7. It's not the Sleepwalking one. It's the one where they commentate on social media through the villain, the piss guy, right? Which is an absolute piss take of supervillain. Like, just, I love how hilariously crass and crude so much of the humor is. Yet it's like the surface of something deeper always. So, well, not always. Sometimes they just throw in fart jokes for the sake of it, but like, often it like masks something deeper. So as they're telling you this like provocative story, they're doing it through like these absurd characters. So on the surface it just kind of looks silly, but like really it's actually quite an interesting topic that they're taking on. That's episode 8, says Cybot. There you go, it's episode 8 apparently. That one really struck a nerve for me. That was like, wow, this is just such a great commentary on, in social media, what's like the overused term now, getting cancelled and all of that, and all this like sharp judgment that occurs on that platform. They really just highlight how reactionary a lot of it is through the events in the show, and while showing you how different the perceived reality of these sort of reactions are to like what's really going on and what the motives behind people's actions are. It's just fascinating. I have really gotten worn out with social media though. Just I don't know. Enjoying the art of things more, watching a good video, watching some Rick and Morty, listening to some good music, a nice discussion on a podcast. Just can't be doing with the he says, she says of social media. There's always something going on. There's always someone with a hot take, and there's always drama there, and just, I don't know, tired of it really. Your pickaxe durability is low, says Tanya. No, it's not. Low is subjective. To me, that's really high. I've got, goodness me, over 237 uses. That, you can't even visualize 237 accurately in your head. Goodness me, that's just, God, so many uses left. I'll never have to worry about it. Just happily keep swinging my pick. I think the writing came first, but I'm not 100% sure. He is using Minecraft to enrich his story, and the universe exists in the way that I understand it. That's cool. Yeah, I was just curious, you know, which way around did that arise? Did it come to be? Is that a Fry and Laurie reference? No idea who Fry and Laurie are, so no. I love that. I love just like, I read my comments and like, oh, there's a so-and-so reference, and I'm like, is there? There's so much stuff out there in the world that like everything's, oh god, I just referenced something. I bet you there's a show where they joke about referencing and I just referenced it. Oh dear. Yeah, no, like there's so much stuff out there that just many sentences at this point in time are references. God, can you imagine in 100 years if like, I don't know, in 100 years there's 100 times more content than there is today? Everything's a reference all of a sudden. Everything will be a reference. It's an older show, says the Capybara Vibe. An older show, eh? Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie. Oh, right. I know Stephen Fry is, but I don't know about the other bloke. In 100 years, we can't reference things anymore. Well, that's an interesting concept that's hard to wrap my head around. Why wouldn't we be able to reference things in 100 years? Hugh Laurie is in House, apparently. I've not seen House either. I've seen a house, I just haven't seen House. I'm in a house. God. Feel like I should have seen that show now. I literally live in one. Can't reference things in 100 years anymore because I said so-and-so thought it would be funny, that's all. Alright, alright. I'll pretend I understand. Oh, they were part of the Blackadder group, went on to do their own two-man skit show. Alright. I don't know much about the Blackadder group either. I do remember Blackadder. You know what, when we were younger, I'm talking about me and my friends, like, it felt like there was... I'm not quite sure what I'm trying to think or say here, but like, you had like a reach into the distant past. Let's say distant, the relatively distant past of like stuff that you enjoyed. And the further back you go in time, I think it's trickier for people to enjoy things from further back because the pace, the cadence change, the cultural landscape has less to identify with. But something like Blackadder was like kind of the thing you might see on occasion and enjoy. Not that I ever really got too much into it. What was that, like the 80s? But also, there's this weird like curve of access where I remember getting into like shows from the 80s and 90s, let's say like The Next Generation. You'd either like pirate it, download it, or get like a DVD box set. And then the barrier to entry has come down. Like streaming is just so quick and accessible. While more and more content has come out, more and more old stuff gets funneled into the availability. But like, are more people watching it? I don't know. Like, I'm just sort of curious. Like, when I was getting into Star Trek: The Next Generation in the noughties, probably like late noughties, I wonder if there's more people picking up that show and enjoying it today. It's just I'm always curious about how things like that work, like the cultural landscape of what people enjoy. But there's so much stuff being made now. It feels like is there less incentive to go back and enjoy stuff from the past? I was listening to a podcast where I think it was the creator of Skyrim said that their favourite ever movie was Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I was just like, when was the last time I saw that movie? That's an amazing movie. I should watch that again at some point soon, right? But like, there's always something new coming out trying to grab your attention. Let's see what chat says. I can't believe there's a new Indiana Jones movie soon, says Yuri Huffles. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame that they sort of, like, franchised it so late. Like, I really like the 3 movies. I know Temple of Doom is not as well appreciated, but I feel like it's nice to have in between the other 2. But, like, then they just kind of left it. And I guess these days, you know, anything new has this caveat of, like, oh, this could be a franchise. But, like, to try and sort of, like, pump out more movies, it's, like, so late. You know, Harrison Ford looks kind of knackered now, right? Like, is there going to be another one after this? Like, what's going to be the future of this series? Because now it's going to be what, a 5-part series with like a 30-year gap in the middle or something. It feels very odd. It feels like that would have been a great thing to have made more movies like back in the day of. But now it's always just going to have that awkwardness of just feeling like something that's resurrected. We had a noise in here, didn't we? Winter Willows, thank you so much for 8 months of support. How are you doing today? I'm doing great, thanks for asking. To ignore the existence of that crystal skull one. I wasn't ignoring its existence. Or have they made 2? Is this like the 3rd of like the new? I can't remember now actually. Did they? There's only 5 of them with this new one included, right? Anyway, I remember kind of quite liking the Crystal Skull one, but then a lot of people didn't. And like what I liked about it is this is a long time. I think I've only ever seen it once. I think I just enjoyed it being an Indiana Jones movie. I'm like, this is nice to have again. But then on reflection, like there are parts of it that are just a bit too ridiculous. Him sort of just enduring a lot of ridiculous trials and pain and stuff that's like a bit over the top. But then a lot of people didn't like the aliens, right? I seem to remember liking the alien bit at the end, just because it was so different. And I think mixing archaeology and aliens is definitely like an intriguing angle to suggest that like there's ancient history that's linked to other worlds, that's hidden beneath our feet. Like that's a very interesting place you could go. But for an Indiana Jones movie, like it's not probably going to go too deep in that direction, right? It's always going to be about Indy chasing down some sort of artifact and being chased by the bad guys who also want the artifacts or whatever. Curls says, I could never get into Indiana Jones for some reason. Tried watching it, but somehow didn't do anything for me. Oh, that's an absolute shame. Always a bummer. There's such good movies. Like, it's just like that sometimes, right? People like a bunch of things and you can't quite get into it, but that's okay. For me, absolutely loved them. Just, I don't know, they were just like movies you were shown as a kid and it was so much fun. There we go, there we go. Let's keep grinding, keep grinding. Keep grinding, 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 grinding. What? Just sitting here thinking about abandoned engineering for some reason. It's a great series about history. That does sound kind of cool. Also, isn't Indiana like horrible as his job of an archaeologist? He mishandles the artifacts every move, right? Like it seems like he should be ejected from the archaeology community for that. Yeah, you know, he's not a proper archaeologist. He's a movie character archaeologist, right? Like his knowledge has him seeking out these artifacts. But you also got to remember, like the environment in which he encounters these things is not. He's not on a trench, right, with the team having a cup of tea and discussing the strategy for digging or something. Like it's always he's got to go find this thing and get it before the bad guys do. So, you know, there's that kind of angle of like, well, you're just gonna have to pick it up because they're about to do the same thing. Andios here for 2 months, saying thank you for your content, X. I just need some light-hearted entertainment sometimes. Awesome. Awesome. Hope it's good and lighthearted for you. Yeah, he ain't no Time Team member. I used to love that show when I was a kid. Just the way Tony Robinson has so much enthusiasm. When someone has enthusiasm for something, it's like kind of infectious, right? Also, I used to listen to a lot of audiobooks that he would narrate as well, like Only You Can Save Mankind by Terry Pratchett, and then some of the Discworld novels. He did a lot of that. So like another just fond voice or whatever from childhood. The Demon Headmaster, I think, is another book. I remember Goosebumps talked about that a few streams back. When I did some poking around on the old Goosebumps nostalgia, turns out my parents, like, quite recently just sold all of the Goosebumps books that I had at a car boot sale, right? And I think I had a pretty big and complete collection. All I wanted to do was just pick the books up and look at them again. I wasn't going to read them or anything. But you know, I'm a minimalist. I don't like holding on to stuff and hoarding things, and I don't like to collect. I think it's kind of wasteful, especially in this digital environment where we can distribute so many things without having to have like physical objects all the time. But that's just, you know, that's my like personal preference, really. And so I didn't have a problem giving them away. Did they ask you? I gave the books to them to give away. Like when I moved out, I got a bunch of stuff, like boxes full of Pogs and I don't know, other stuff from my childhood. And then I, at some point or other, sorted it all out, and I was like, yeah, just get rid of these. Which was pretty much most of it, right? You know, like I had these old Premier League sticker trading collection books. I was just like, get rid of them. It's a little bit of nostalgia to like pull them out and look at them every now and then. But like the value of that is diminished by the internet too. You can just go watch some, like I can probably now, I know this is a thing now, I can probably find some amazing deep dive video on YouTube into the world of like sticker trading. If you were like a kid who loved football in the 90s in the UK, there's probably like some whole deep dive talking about the rarity of the cards, and you know, they got all the graphics and the images. You can get like a real good dose of nostalgia these days. Like nostalgia is different today than it was then. If I think back to the early noughties, if I got a little nostalgic about something from my childhood, I would go, you know, rummage in the cupboard, find the thing, pull it out, right? There wasn't this just abundance of nostalgia available online, but now you do. Like the what nostalgia is has changed. There's a lot of nostalgic content and bringing back the things as well, I've noticed. There's like a budget for it. Hey, we've been raided by the one, the only Joel Duggan. Thank you, Joel, for the raid. Greatly appreciated. Carl's is gifting you a sub. Carl's, thank you so much for gifting that sub. And welcome all the raiders. We are just doing a dig and having a waffle. That's it. I knew I was in a talkative mood today. And I was like, I just want to grind some Minecraft stuff and talk. And what comes out? All sorts of things, right? I admire your ability to move with the times. I don't think I'd get nostalgic from a video or something, says Primera Roll. So like, what are we talking? Getting nostalgia as a feeling? Right? I think for me, I've done the nostalgia thing a lot of time. I've felt nostalgia in a painful way, and that like churning in your stomach. The times I've experienced that is like on YouTube watching old Metallica concerts and like stuff I love from a time that I didn't get to experience it. That stuff gives me some of that bellyache nostalgia. But then I thought that's unhealthy, and like I need to address that and understand that and learn to like let go of this idea of yearning for a time that you didn't experience, because it's so easy to romanticize the past and to imagine it as being something different than what it is. So there's different levels of nostalgia, right? There's like nostalgic appreciation. Initially, I used to kind of think of nostalgia as that more painful feeling. Now I feel it like when you get sort of engrossed in something from the past that can never quite be the same way, and you can do that in a healthy way. It doesn't have to be like painful or anything. It can be a little bit obsessive sometimes, but I feel like I'm past most of those things. But like for me, watching a video, like there are like channels dedicated to this. Slopes Game Room, for example, and other gaming channels that I follow. They'll do like these deep dives into games from your childhood, and I love it because it won't just be like going and seeing the game in action again. There'll be this like deep dive into the story behind it, who was involved, the players, or like all these other things you didn't know at the time. And it's really nice because you then come away with like this more complete picture than you even had back then. And it really like puts a nice kind of like lid on things. One of the videos I watched recently was about Cannon Fodder, and I've always had a little nostalgia for that game and like a yearning to play it from time to time. But then, you know, you watch this deep dive video and it kind of, I don't know, it just like puts a ribbon on it. It's like it just gives you a satisfying conclusion. It's like, yeah, I've explored so many like nostalgic games and memories and vague things that you can recall, and like visited them all with my time on the internet, that like there's not a lot left to uncover in the past. It's really weird. Like this is something that you couldn't do you know, this X amount of years ago. And like for people growing up today, especially kids whose lives are going to be pictured and recorded on you know, parents and siblings' cameras, like what's their experience of nostalgia going to be when, if they want to, like, you're going to be able to vividly see yourself on a birthday that you wouldn't remember in 20 years, right? Like I cannot remember my 8th, 9th, 10th birthday. I really don't have a clue, right? I don't know what on earth. I got some vague images of like parties and places, but honestly, don't have a clue, right? Maybe there's some stuff sitting in some photo albums somewhere. I don't know, but like the interaction with the past is changing, right? Go back in time, like, so I'm talking about having pictures and stuff. Go back to the like the 60s and the 50s. My nan would tell me stories of like everyone getting together, like all the family coming around having a big dinner, and then they would sit together and watch slides of pictures from holidays and talk about them, and oh, this was when so and so did that, and you remember that moment. And that's because they didn't have this like constant access to it, and like it was actually like the barrier to entry for photography was lower. You know what we were talking about earlier? Here's a great example, right? Like, I bet you somewhere some people were sounding off the sirens about how smartphones was going to ruin the jobs of photographers, right? You know, if everyone's got a really good camera in their pocket, you don't need to hire a photographer at your wedding anymore. It's like another one of those things, like you just don't think about it, you just live with it. You don't, every time you take a picture on your phone, do you think, oh, I'll put someone out of work? Oh God, you know, like once upon a time, if I wanted to picture my food after I cooked it, God, imagine all the effort and hassle I'd have to gone through. That's someone's livelihood I've taken away. You don't think like that. It just becomes the norm. But think about how one's access to the past, like the interaction with it, is going to change for future generations. So for my grandparents, like memories like that are probably very like cherished things, to the point where they get together to look at old slides, right? Crazy. Today, you swipe past pictures on your phone like all day long if you're on Instagram or something, and you'll have an archive of pictures. I imagine like you'll probably, I think you'll look at stuff from the past less because it's there. I think part of the wanting to see it because you're not used to it, you know, like it would be really special to see pictures of you when you were younger if that was a very novel and difficult thing to hold on to. So like if you didn't see pictures of people all the time and yourself, and you knew your parents had a picture at their house, maybe when you go there you just want to see it again and be like, oh wow, remember that time. But then when everyone's got it on their phone, connected to the internet, can instantly access stuff, it's going to change our interaction, like our feelings with the past and stuff. Snocky is here for 10 months with the Amazon Prime. Thank you for using that Prime subscription on me. I appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying the stream, and thank you for supporting the channel. Also, peeps, be sure to hit follow over here if you're enjoying it. I'm going to be streaming Create tomorrow, and then we'll probably be back on Hermitcraft at some point after that. Jimbo says, shame that a lot of old media can't be displayed in the original medium it was intended to be viewed. I've noticed that a lot of old forms of media be not enjoyed as much anymore because of the accessible versions are recreations of it, recordings of it, instead of the original thing. I love watching plays and operas, but I couldn't care for recordings of them online, as the medium was intended to be consumed in person, and that's how it works best. Chimpo, that was a beautiful thought. I'm personally probably a bit more lenient with certain things I like, but you always got to relate like someone else's point to your own. So for me, going to shows, I don't really want to watch videos of shows that I've been to, unless they were like really big. Like occasionally I'll go watch Slipknot at Download Festival 2009 or something, and be like, oh my god, that was the best show I've ever been to. And sometimes I'll watch shows like Korn at Woodstock 99. You know, when they play Blind and you see a sea of people jumping up and down, and it's just like, whoa, I wish I was there. But like, in general, like a show that I could go to, yeah, I'd want to go see it in person than I would, you know. I don't want to watch whoever's headlining Download next year over the internet. I'd want to be there in person. As for like preserving the original way things are to be experienced, yeah, you probably, in general, you probably will lose like something, but there are also situations where things are gained. For example, a lot of us probably watched the original Star Wars, if you're my age, on VHS. This is like something you might not know about Star Wars. There are little interesting stories to be told here and there of obscure things, of how technology interacts with culture. But Star Wars was like a thing from the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, that a generation of people loved and talked about. And then in the 90s, a whole new generation got to experience it thanks to the distribution of VHS. So there's this kind of like, I don't know, like a cultural gap or whatever, where Star Wars got to be reintroduced to a new generation. But then, if you go and watch the original Star Wars today on streaming or whatever, they won't be VHS quality. They'll be way better because they'll have the originals. The originals were filmed on film, hence them being films. and you know, with today's technology, you can restore them into HD format. So, for example, if I were to go and watch Star Wars again, which I haven't done in a long time, man, I keep thinking, I really need to I really want to set some quality time to enjoy some classic stuff like Indiana Jones and Star Wars. Like, you know, phone in the other room, just like get your head out of your usual space and just enjoy something. I need a bit of that. Because those Star Wars movies were amazing. But now, you know, now you go and watch it in HD. So you could argue that sometimes restoration may actually bring more to the experience, right? Take note of that, otherwise you'll forget against the skulls. Oh, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. Like, there's always a reminder of Star Wars. I watch Scarstream, okay, so I'm always going to be reminded about Star Wars. I mean, if who was here in the Create stream we did, was it just yesterday? Gosh. Because I had a bit of a waffle about how I've been feeling of late. I don't know, maybe I could give you my latest thoughts on that. Which has basically been like, I don't know, like so many things overlap, it's kind of like a little bit tricky to focus sometimes on like what the root cause of something is. I was about to say, should we go repair these suckers, but there's this. Now these were quite costly. Half a stack gets you, so that's 1 diamond right there. Let's do a 3 diamond repair. What happened to your shulker box inventory mod? I believe it's still there, isn't it? Oh, we had a couple more noises in the ear. Pojo267, thank you for the prime, and Diesel8575, thank you again for the prime. Appreciate it. Appreciate it ever so much. Just got to put that back here now, and then we continue. That's a pretty good XP to keep going, isn't it? Horror movie streaming platforms, I think, have a VHS style as were mainly designed with that limitation. Makes cheaper 90s CGI look real, says Alex Ciccone. That sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. I love my horror movies, just seen a bit too many of them. But yeah, I was what I've been thinking about since the waffle we had on Create and today is like the interaction with media, as I'm kind of noticing that like some of the discomfort I feel throughout the day just sort of comes from making decisions about what to do. Like there's always like this abundance of something to enjoy, and I've commented a lot on how I always want to consume something new and perhaps neglect, you know, the things that you love, like that you can watch over and over again. That's why I deliberately started watching some Rick and Morty. It's just because I'm gonna love these episodes. They're so funny, and I haven't rewatched them enough. I've definitely rewatched them a handful of times, but like, I really enjoyed watching them. There's just, I don't know, something about enjoying something you know really well is just nice. And yeah, there's always these options, you know, this podcast, this video, that video, and sometimes I just wish maybe like things were just a little bit simpler, or you just enjoy something that like really does resonate, because often like a lot of these like videos and stuff that I watch, they're interesting, but like they don't particularly like artistically resonate. There's some sort of value to enjoying something on a little bit more of an artistic level, which is what I think something like comedy can do, or enjoying a music record that you know you love. That's just where my thoughts sort of wandered today. You know, just maybe that's what I need. Anyway, I probably need to sort of like implement some plan of action. If, you know, if that's what you're thinking, give it a try. Find a way to properly follow that and figure it out. Sven Skerivar says, as a historian, the way technology makes it possible for everyone to leave a lasting imprint is fascinating. The most interesting finds for us is not the diaries of kings and emperors, but the small nuggets of insight we get into everyday life. So future historians are going to love this era. Yes, really interesting thoughts. What I would say to that though is, because it becomes so abundant, might it be like overlooked? I mean, where would I go if you told me that any period of history that we know about, you can go and learn about like this person or that person, right? Let's say I just, for whatever reason, I think, oh, ancient Egypt, right? Ancient Egypt's now got social media or whatever, right? We can look at tweets, we can look at pictures, but there would be an abundance of it, right? So after a certain amount of time, I feel like you would get your fill of it. You'd be like, all right, I kind of know what like this era of history is about, and then might it be a little like boring? Like, I know it sounds mad to say that, but I wonder if it might create that. Like, what if it creates a barrier to the past where it's less interesting because it's so vivid, right? We're collecting like more and more data, and I'm very interested in how we might be able to collect more data to better our own health and our own lives. Like, you know, you got your Fitbit on your wrist, right? And what if we start to glean more metric data about ourselves to the point where your Fitbit can be like, you know, you should go eat this food or go eat that food because you're low on these minerals or those minerals. Or you should do some exercise right now. That would be good for your body. Like, it understands the data. All of this data is being recorded and stored. Like, there are so many metrics of our activity. If you use, you know, like an app on your phone, you might not realize the way you interact with it is data that's being recorded. Like, all the different movements that you make, or how long you look at a particular picture for, or this thing or that activity that you do. So much stuff is like being recorded and turned into data. And I imagine as AI gets better and things get more sophisticated, we'll probably be able to like glean more out of that data and create like more insightful models of what people are doing. Like it's one thing to be like, okay, I got a Fitbit and it tells me this about me, but it's another thing to think, well, Google has all the Fitbits and understands a lot. Like if they looked at the data all at once, and let's say some big world event happens, like a meteor is going to hit the planet, right, and cause some devastation, you know, they would glean some insights. Like you could see the heart rates and stress levels of people universally going up. Like, imagine as we get further into the future, we collect more and more data beyond photos and stuff, and you have an even more precise insight into that. I mean, imagine like being able to, you know, as I said, like ancient Egypt, but then you like, not only did ancient Egypt have social media, we've now given ancient Egypt like the ultimate Fitbits that track your heart rate, your thoughts, feelings, emotions. Like we can measure emotions now. We understand how to measure happiness and sadness and anger and frustration. And all of those data is in there, and you can glean anything you want out of the past. Okay, this person on that day, oh, they were this hungry and they were angry. Like, what? Like, the more that you know might make it less interesting. You might become more interested in the future. I don't have answers. I'm just asking questions. Warp says, "Hey X, you always seem to approach thought and action, digging as you have been, so orderly. Does it take a lot of mental effort to approach stuff that way, or does it come naturally?" I think the way I think and talk on stream is like a skill, because I've done this, gotten comfortable with it. It's something that develops over time. Being someone, I've always been someone who's like quite in the thought space, you know, like always thinking and asking questions, but like to just step out and like try and talk about that openly, that's like not that easy or natural. Maybe it is to some people, but because I'm in an environment that allows me to do that on such a regular basis, I've been streaming for so long, you know, between streams where I sit here and waffle and stuff, like every time you do it, you learn something new, essentially, whether you know it or not. So it's a skill, I think. Yeah, and I've just learned the language, and the more you do it, the more the points that you hold on to come back to mind, or the certain things that you've instructed yourself about. Like one of the big ones for me is to remind myself, like, of being compassionate towards humans when I talk about certain stuff, because I look at things from a very data perspective sometimes, or a very analytical perspective, and I listen to what people say and I realize, like, okay, I'm saying this stuff about this thing because I'm thinking about it from this one perspective, and other people are seeing it from this other more human perspective, and so then I learn something and I like add it to the little database of, I don't know, thoughts and feelings around how I do this whole streaming and talking thing. And then as for the digging, like, I can't do this if I'm playing different types of games or I'm trying to do redstone. This is a very like mindless task in Minecraft. It's nice and hypnotic, it's simple, you're just digging away, and you don't really have to do much at all. It's kind of like just walking. Get a little bit of that kind of just autopilot kicking in, right? Walking and talking. It's cyclic. The Egyptians wrote in hieroglyphs, we wrote right in emojis. Yeah. That's awesome. There are so many emeralds, and we will get loads of them. We'll get loads of those emeralds. But if you use colour, the dye clouds typically aren't as good and approach 4K resolution. Dye clouds, colour, I don't know what we're talking about there. Xisuma can talk the talk and walk the walk, thanks. That's not just a skill, that's courage, in my opinion, says Curls. Yeah, there's definitely been like moments of courage to like go over the edge of what you're comfortable about and then talk about something different. Because it's been an evolution, right? Like, you go back and watch some of my older streams, you'll hear me talk about stuff like in a way less engaging or thoughtful way, and then like just many topics that I wouldn't have once talked about that I now comfortably talk about. Just there's a little bit of that in there too. Blackjack's comments about clouds was rescanning old films to bring them to higher resolutions. I've not been really impressed with much I've seen of upscaling technology. I've never, I can't recall seeing something that's been upscaled and been like, oh yeah, that was like a massive improvement. I feel like you always notice the upscaling. And not all restorations are that good as well. I'm aware like there can be varying degree. You know, because I was making this point about how you can upscale film, I guess, you know, restore it to HD, but like it's not always a perfect process. So I remember watching this video a while back about this movie that had been restored in several different formats, and they were looking at how different the quality was, and you'd be really surprised at like how different like VHS to DVD to Blu-ray to streaming, like how different these movies could look. And perhaps it speaks to the process that goes into it, like maybe different teams at different times use different processes, so that, you know, there might be great ways to get any movie to look good, but does everyone know about it? I don't know. But yeah, certainly just because you can do a restoration doesn't guarantee it's good, perhaps. Bunkel says this has been a wicked waffle. Thank you. Thank you. Glad you think so. I had one in me. I knew I had one in me today. Blackjack says not upscaling, taking the original high resolution and making a new digital version with a higher resolution than the old digital format. Yes, yes. Okay. I've seen classic movies at the cinema. They've all been upscaled to 4K, but look rubbish, says Demon Slayer. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't watched a lot of classic movies that have been upscaled. Maybe the technology ain't so great, but the idea that, you know, there are different ways you can do it and different people with different techniques and varying outcomes, it's always a possibility, right? I like I said though, I don't recall seeing anything upscaled and being like, oh, I'm glad that was upscaled. Like, every time I've seen something upscaled, it's been like, it's a bit dodge. Johnson says create server is coming along nicely. Cool, are you playing on there? I logged in earlier today and saw some new stuff. Yuri Huffles says reminds me of the Buffy HD versions where some scenes look weird since random stuff appear and since they were cut from the sides at 4:3 resolution. Ah, yeah. So what, they shot in wides but then it got cut and then there's things left on the edge of the screen? That's interesting. I never got into Buffy. My friends were into Buffy, but I just never gave it a go, really. It's one of those shows that I feel like maybe I could get into, like kind of nostalgically or whatever, but it's never just been that appealing, really. Just I was like, maybe not that one. Same with old movie converted to 3D, it's never good. If you convert something into 3D from something old, I don't know a lot about it, but like it does sound like a tricky thing to do. Like when they make 3D movies, don't they need like a special setup of cameras to make the 3D process work, right? Like it used to be done with like blue and red tint. I'm not quite sure how they do it now. I think it's something to do with like oscillating light. But yeah, the way you shoot the movie, I'm pretty sure has a big role in that. They commonly used circularly polarized light. Interesting. 3D in modern movies is not even good. I'm trying to avoid them when possible. It doesn't add anything in my opinion. You just wear silly glasses on top of the ones you're already wearing. Yeah, I've never gotten along with them. For me, like, I don't know, like it just feels so novel and like it's not necessary. So I don't watch the 3D ones either. To make a real 3D movie, they use 2D cameras, but you can take a 2D movie, use some magic, and make it 3D. Which doesn't look good. Oh, okay. I imagine maybe like with AI, like teaching AI to understand depth and light sources and imagery and stuff might be a way to do that good or decent, but maybe not, I don't know. Am I digging out an area for Pixel's copper aging machine? That is exactly what I'm doing. Exactly that. We are getting so many goodies out of this area. By goodies, I mean endless amounts of stone. But also gravel, which might come in useful for some concrete later in the season. And we'll always walk back and pick up a few extra blocks. I really don't need to do it. I really don't need to. Curl says, I'll actually be interested in a proper VR movie. At some point we'll get there. You know, like the idea of like interactive movies has been around forever. Pick your own story kind of thing. At some point we might be able to get there. I wonder if like one of the problems with creating a movie where you pick your own story is just like the endless branches. But one day, you know, we got this AI art, and soon we'll probably have like short animations. You know, where you say that, you know, that cat holding a banana, like, also then jumps up and down. And it might be able to do that. And then, you know, that might lead to one thing to another. There might be overlaps with the text stuff, right? And then one day you might get to this spot where it's like, it can do a lot. Let's just imagine it accelerates, like, fast. Right? Like, let's say in 3 years' time, it's actually doing short animations and clips. And then in another 3 years, it's doing pretty convincing kind of like 30-second stories or whatever. And then, you know, 30 years into the future, and it can just generate a movie based on some ideas that you throw together, right? And you watch the movie and you're like, it's basically Die Hard, but they've like, you know... thrown in those monkeys and bananas that I requested. Or something like that, right? But then it gets more sophisticated because it can always just refine, get better. Like, what if this technology becomes the thing that allows you to do something like that? Like, you're in the movie, right? And as you do things and input actions, it iterates the next stage of the story on the fly. That could be what computers could do one day. Imagine that. Oof. Man, I'm probably going to be 80 if I ever get to live that long before this stuff arrives. But dang, I want to enjoy that movie that I'm in. You know what I mean? Sounds like video games, says Eta Theta. Yeah, well, I guess, yeah, video games are very much like that, aren't they? You make a lot of choices and stuff, but obviously... Like, let's say you play a game like Skyrim or something open world like GTA. You're always making decisions, but the world around you, it's always a game world. So you mentally, like, fill in the gaps of what this story experience is like. But what the AI could do in this made-up scenario of mine is, like, really bridge the realism gap. Then it can be like watching a movie. Or it can be maybe more like real life. You're standing in the scene as if you're on the set of a movie. You know, like, yeah, there's definitely things that are similar to that games have, but we're talking about the possibility for, like immersive kind of real-world VR. Who knows? One person I don't think is going to really help on the VR front is old Zuckerberg with his metaverse. That thing looks awful for the amount of money they've invested into it. That's not really where I thought VR was going. Kind of looks like it's going the wrong direction. It looks like a poor game from 15 years ago. Something you might have seen on the Wii. It's, yeah, a real money sink, that thing. Elon will snap it up when the stocks tank. I don't know. How much is Facebook worth if it goes any lower? Maybe he could. I don't know. Look at Second World. Second World was amazing though, right? Like, obviously it's aged, but dang, what an amazing thing that was. I never played any Second World myself, but certainly aware of it. Grey Cat Crossing, thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. I appreciate it. Hey, don't disrespect the Wii, says Lucro. I wasn't disrespecting the Wii. It looks like a Wii game. The Wii came out in the, what, 2006, 2005? I ain't disrespecting the Wii. I mean, that was a big popular console, right? I'm just saying it looks like it's from that era. Not an insult. It's just an observation. Oh, here we go. I think the emerald ore might fit somewhere else. Didn't we already have some down here? Yeah, there you go. Right, I probably want to put those back in my backpack. Oh wait, this had other stuff too. Like that. Let's break these up. Put them away, and then I'm just going to go put all of those, or some of them, into my base. Now that we cleared a bunch of this stuff up. Put that in the offhand. God, we have done some absolute work today filling up these shulker boxes, right? Absolute work. Dang, look at this area. Woo! Woo! I feel like this might be a nice thumbnail actually, like a big old. Ooh, look at that angle. Big old progress. Gonna picture. There you go. Absolute massive area we're digging out. Mahusive, one might say. Sounds like your concept world would be the Matrix. Well, yeah, that would kind of be like the end point, right? Where like, okay, so you built this advanced AI thing, and it can kind of create a movie that you're in, and it's got so much reflexive power that it can, you know, create a reality of any kind of manipulation. I don't know. And yeah, and then it will become like a Matrix, I guess. I kind of want to fish out some of the gravel and stuff here, but also that stuff. Well, I should really like get a system together of what I'm doing with all these items, but at the moment it is just literal chaos. So there's a bunch of coal in there. This one's full up, so I'll pinch that and that one. Right, so then what am I going to put down here? That one. This one. That one for sure. I think that's most of the ones with extra stuff in. Now I want the non-full ones. Like these two. And that one. And this one. Did that actually go there? Yeah, it did. And that one. So all these non-full ones over here. Well, that's a full one, but we'll swap it around. There you go. Right, take a bunch of this and fill them up. Let's hope we make good batteries or the Matrix will have no use for us, says Lordran. Oh dear. Oh, that's grim. We're just batteries, eh? Come on, all of it in there. For some reason, X's storage scares me. I keep thinking... It keeps me thinking he's in the void. Oh, right, I get ya, because of the floating darkness that we are hovering above. Right, so that should be all of them except the last one. So I'll nab that. Chuck all of this in here. Okay, is there another empty one that I've got? No, so I'll leave that there. There's method to my madness, peeps. I'm just going to dump all this stuff up here. That's where I've been storing a lot of the stone and cobble and stuff. I mean, I have like a deep storage facility over to the side that I never quite hooked up. And now would be a great time to have it up and running, right? We got cheers and we got biddies in my eardrummies from It's Nothies, saying always relaxing watching the stream while doing late night work. Thank you for those cheers and biddies, my dude. Appreciate it ever so much. Thanks for supporting the channel, and glad you've been entertained. It's been a nice one today, hasn't it? It's been a nice old one. Well, these ones are full, so I'm just going to leave them down here. And I guess what I need to do next is take a trip to the end, right? Get all repaired up. Eat some food as well. Dang. Remember that batteries... Oh. Because it was dumbed down, the story was supposed to be the machines using human brains' computational power, says Uriel. Alright, is that like a thing that the creators have sort of said somewhere? Interesting. I didn't mean it necessarily the interaction you picking up your story, but completely immersed into the environment of the movie. Like, imagine sci-fi movies on a different planet or war movies, and you can be there. VR documentaries about how refugee camps are used to facilitate understanding and empathy, for example. Wow. I didn't know that those existed. That's interesting. Yeah, I guess, yeah, VR can bring another level of immersion, right? Frank4183, thank you for 3 months of support. Saying hello. Hello, Frank. Thank you. Appreciate it, my dude. Thanks for supporting the channel. Peeps, if you enjoyed today's stream, be sure to hit the follow button here on Twitch. Get notified of when I go live. We got some repairing to do. Let me grab this sucker. That thing, this thing. Loud noises. Oh! So loud. Must remember to turn that back up after, though. It's like the one thing I always forget. The one thing. Oh wow, the Enderman farm is perdified out of mines. Yeah, it's been prettied up, that's for sure. Tool juggling for repairs. Yeah, we're definitely doing some tool juggling right now. As we pull in the mending. And you can sort of get an idea for where it's going. It feels like it's going to the left more than the right. It really does feel like you're seeing the random distribution, and it really does feel like the left is getting more than the right. I don't know if the game prioritizes something in your offhand or not. I wouldn't have thought so. Sounds like a myth-busting episode, says Red Brumbler. I mean, it might be a small thing in a myth-busting episode, right? Like, the mini myth-bust I did recently for Empires, like, it kind of shows a bit of a problem with the format now, is... I feel like the way that they've done Minecraft updates for some time, a lot of stuff isn't really hidden or unknown. We've gotten better at like learning about things as they've been introduced, and so it feels like there's less to unearth in this game, and like of the things I investigated, there wasn't really much to take away from it as a result. And I don't know if people want to see myth busting where it's like, alright, you did a bunch of tests and you know, because there was space and time where myth busting kept, you know, showing you a bunch of things in the game where it's like, oh, did you expect that? Maybe not. Maybe not. Now, while I remember, it is a perfect time in which to fix this thing. Hey, we've got a noise in the ear. It's Prime Ever Roll here for 3 months with the Amazon Prime. Thank you so much for using the Prime subscription on me. I appreciate that, my dude. Thank you for your continued support. Where is Mumbo, says True Man. Ah, True Man, you must have just tuned in because we just spent the last 2.5 hours talking about where Mumbo is. This is, of course, the Mumbo State of Affairs stream. Many of you know me, Xisuma, as Mumbo's secretary. If ever you have a question about Mumbo, don't ask Mumbo or go to his Twitter or his channel page. Come to me. I'm the Mumbo guy, okay? Right? Like, I have all the Mumbo knowledge and answers. Okay, so like you'd be a complete fool if you like, you know, left a comment on his videos asking or something, right? Like that's the last place you're gonna learn about Mumbo. Oh, anyway, what was the question about Mumbo again? Jeez, I get so many they become a blur. You know what I mean? Because of course we had our Mumbo State of Affairs stream today, and we have many questions and statements to make and information to talk about regarding the Mumbo situation, and now you're all well informed as a result of that. And unfortunately someone has just strolled in a little late, even though we made a bunch of announcements. Okay, this was announced well in advance. Of course, I am the Mumbo secretary. You know, you should be following me for Mumbo news and Mumbo updates, and oh, I tried my very best to let you all know. Oh, I sent so many letters in the postbox to Mumbo fans. So many letters. My thumbs are still sore from all those stamps. Oh, and my tongue. Oh my god, I can barely talk. All the envelopes I had to lick. Jeez. You didn't get the letter, did you? Or did you ignore it? Oh, I don't know. I don't know, but I try my very best. As Mumbo secretary, I try my very best. You know? What's the name of this channel? It's literally Stuff About Mumbo channel. That's the... Oh no, wait, it's Xisuma. That's not quite clear, really, is it? I should have probably renamed it at some point in time. It's Chemical83. Thank you for gifting subs. Very kind of you to do that. Niaumau, Sphinx, Yoiz, Clymenestra, and Nigel. Baron Phallus. I've probably gotten that name completely wrong. But be sure to say thanks in the chat. We always appreciate the butchering of the names around here, don't we? And we always appreciate the Mumbo update. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez, the Mumbo update. Hopefully I answered your question, True Man. True Man's putting a love heart in chat. I like that. You know I'm joking. You know I'm messing around. That's good. Just having fun as always. Just having fun as always. X, you are the leader. Just like we're able to ask the king where the PM is, we should be able to ask you where any hermit is. Surely you have the trackers on all of them. I'm not the leader of Hermitcraft. This is not news, is it not? I've expressed this quite a few times. Those days are behind us. I have you know, moved on from doing that role within the group. These days, I am just here to help the hermits as much as I can, and I keep the server up and running. But I am no leader. I mean, technically, I never was a leader. I was just a steward, leading in the absence of another. Anyway, if you watched my video doing the deep dive on Hermitcraft, I would have expressed it way more elegantly in that video than after 2.5 hours of streaming. 150 minutes of streaming. But yeah. Oof. Have you watched any of Mumbo's newest videos? No. And I'm supposed to be his secretary. Oh, God. Jeez. Jeez. I think that was a joke, X's girls. Well, as someone who's sarcastic and jokes a lot, you should have probably learned I'm not very good at detecting them. Even though I can make them, my brain doesn't detect jokes very well. It's just a quirk. Just a quirk of being a Doom guy. In a blocky Wells, waffling whilst digging giant holes. That makes so much sense. Peeps, be sure to hit that follow button. And thank you ever so much for tuning in. Big thank you to everyone who subscribed, resubscribed, donated and cheered. Thanks for all the follows. Thanks to the peeps gifting subs, the mods, the patrons, the community. Y'all are appreciated. Let's go raid Acrylic, since we were talking about lore and story. And yeah, that'll be who we raid today. Seems kind of relevant given our discussion. So I'll send you over there. Oh, right, I'm going to take a break. See you everyone, take care, bye bye.